Good evening. Can I be heard? I want to wait before starting. I'm here. I'm here. Okay. Pretend like this part didn't happen. This is completely unprofessional. And the only reason why I did that part was to make sure that I could be heard before I go on like my little tangent here. I'm sure you might have noticed maybe a little bit of the trade secrets, but we can talk about that later. For now, I need to go through this. I guess let me say hello. Welcome Jury, welcome Cyan, welcome Holland, welcome Ghost. Otherwise, sorry, forgive my unprofessionalism. I think it's okay to have a little bit before a speech begins, though. So let me begin again. How often do you dust your room? Can we keep a level of decorum within the chamber, please? Don't speak out of line. It's my turn at the podium. Good evening. Good evening. If I were smart, I'd end stream now. In January 2024, I came to this chamber to sit in silence and hope that that would be fun enough. It was not. So now, 6 months later, I come to this chamber, Coke Zero in hand, hand over heart, to sit less in silence than I had before. The enjoyment has increased drastically, but changes will have to be made to accommodate how I want to handle this channel going forward. In 6 months, I have had more success with this channel than I could have ever thought possible. I've met good friends that have been supportive throughout the process, and I have seen the channel reach numbers that I did not think possible before. My first video hit 1.7 thousand views on the YouTube, not the very first one. The one within the past 6 months, that's the one that we're counting as the first one. Please don't count Goofy Pot Tether. That was more just like a little fun clip, and it doesn't quite count the same. So just keep that one like to the side. It's like a separate category. It's the appetizer for the entree, and the 1.7 thousand view one is like the entree. Now this has not been replicated. The 1.7 thousand views has not been replicated since, but who's counting? And how dare you bring it up? I think that's very rude of you. I remember individual names of people that have come through the chamber. I'm not going to name them now, but trust me whenever I say that I remember them. And they run through my mind every time I go to sleep and think about the beautiful reality that we have created. And now the channel is at 60, almost 60, is at 58 subscriber. And this momentum is unfortunately something that I do not plan to maintain. And I would have written more and continued on in this cadence. But unfortunately, while I was playing around with this program, which is the trade secrets that I was talking about, I kind of used like an entire hour just learning how to put this thing together. I couldn't find the download button. But either way, I'm just gonna kind of go over what I mean by that, and like what my plans for the channel are here going forward. I've talked a little bit about it, but honestly, probably not enough about it. So this will be like the good, concise place for it. I guess like the initial first thing right now is currently I do not plan on quitting. I was tossing the idea around of quitting streaming, but we are not at that point yet. What it does mean, what I do mean, is that I've got like a lot going on and a lot coming up. So I think we're going to switch the focus, because I had basically throughout like the past half year been under the mindset that I would be like seriously trying to pursue the streaming and whatnot, and it would be like this great, incredible thing that I would do like for a long time. And I do intend to do it for a long time, but not as like seriously and as in depth as I think what I thought that I would do before. I thought that I would consider a lot of factors that I just don't plan on keeping up with anymore. So the focus from here on out is basically I'm going to do this casually and take it slowly, and then if growth comes from that, then we'll go ahead and take it and feel good about it and give each other like pats on the back and stuff. In the future, probably, well, literally immediately, because next week I won't be able to stream as much. But not like the super hard immediate future. It's not like a permanent change, but it will be like come not too long from now. Streams will not be on a strict set schedule like I've been treating them up until this point. Currently, the schedule has been Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. All of those starting around 6:30 to 7, and that's kind of like what the plan was. I plan on basically in the future, what I'll probably do is have like the amount of streams listed that I will do in that week, and then try to just hit like that stream quota basically. So whether it be like, okay, I've got time for 2 streams, I'll whip out 2 streams, or I got time, or I want to do like more than like 2, and then I just do more than 2. So it'll be a lot more flexible, which might be like a lot harder to like plan out for people, but that's okay. Videos, I have videos listed. There's going to be less of them. I know that it's already slowed down, but for a minute I thought that it was going to be like a thing that I would do to like pump up and have like some amount of growth off of it. But I'm realizing now that between like everything else that I want to do and like having a life, it's very difficult to keep up with. So instead, I'm just going to focus on creating like videos here and there for like VODs and stuff that I do like, rather than focusing on just like getting one out because it'll get easier. Let me read some of the chat. I haven't looked at it. The first one, oh, Pot Tether. Yeah, I mean, it is the first and it deserves some respect. But I think we can count it as like kind of a separate life, I think. You're here to learn, Ghost. I'm sure you've learned a lot. It's a healthy mindset. I'm glad. There was a lot of consultation, as you know, whenever like deciding what to do from here with the channel. Whatever you feel you need to do, you support me, thank you. Casual Joe Bob is still Joe Bob. I would say that it's probably even more Joe Bob than a strict Joe Bob. Because like at heart, I'm not like a super strict on the money personality anyway. I'm like a do things on the fly and at the whims of my own behest at any point kind of guy. And so this kind of fits me better anyway, and then I'll be able to maybe have more ready because I'll be a little more comfortable with whenever I'm doing stuff. And consistency, I wrote down consistency is not the key. What that doesn't mean is that doesn't mean I'm just going to stop without any warning. If I do stop, there will be a warning, but like it won't be the strict weekly schedule like I was doing up until now. And then just like I don't plan on stopping. That's basically the gist of the entire like opening segment there. And now I'm good to just do whatever. I know that's a little unprofessional since we're going for like the State of the Union feel. I imagine the president doesn't just walk up here and go, yeah, economy's doing okay. Jobs are up. What do y'all think about jobs? Do you like jobs? They're doing okay. I don't have too much more to add. Would you like to talk about anything? How's your kid doing? I don't think that's the usual. I respect it, man. I'm glad you're still doing this in a way that fits you better. Thank you. Yeah. And it was a good, honest try to go for it because, you know, having the strict schedule, even to an extent. It helps build a little bit of just like knowledge of how you'd like to do things. I went over like the initial Signala stream and stuff. Your mom called me Bob Job. Oh, I don't know how I feel about Bob Job. That's funny. Emotional support ghost at your service. Thank you. I need it. I'm needed. I'm about to be in tears. But yeah, the trade secrets, I'm sure you noticed, like an hour before stream, I was asking Jury about how she did like the effects on her stream. Welcome Psycho Bob Job. I don't know if I'm ready to accept that. People like just like not just, but I think people recently just started picking up like on Jube. And like I'm cool with Jube. It took a second to adjust to. But Bob Job is a Bobby Jobby, Bobbin Jobbin. It just doesn't sound right. You know? I don't know what it implies, but it certainly can't be good. Especially a Bobby Jobby. Either way, I was taught about a program called Shoost, which I'm currently using, and I think the camera zooms and stuff might be a little too much. I didn't know how to introduce it because I didn't want to have to do anything with my hands. So I thought about having it like further back and then being like the full set in and like and then it would like actually introduce me and then I'd be like, oh, good evening, good evening. But then I would have to have like a timer countdown for that to actually work. I think for events, you definitely need the starting soon screen. I'm starting to pick up on the starting soon screen and why it's important. But because you need the time for everybody to actually have the stream started without it like kind of lagging out of the way. And then that way you can go with your speech. And so my solution for this was just like, well, I guess I'll sit here and wait like 5 seconds or whatever. And then like 5 seconds came around. I was like, but what if they're not in? What if I start going through my thing? Good evening, January 2024 started streaming, and they're like, man, I didn't hear you until you said that you had a video get 1.7 thousand views. It's like, where do I go from there? You like the trade secrets? I do too. I think that there's incredible potential here. I was looking at it, and just the things that I can do, like I could, hold on, it's not even like at an like a large scale level. I can just start like glowing if I wanted to. Would you like to see me if I were like the face of God? Here I am. What do you have to say to me? I'm a bright white light illuminating the sky. But you can do like, and then here as well, we've got the LED panel. So Glowbob, it actually just works. Oh, this is so weird on OBS. On OBS, you've got like the optical illusion. It looks like it's going in and out and like it's in 3D. You know, like those scanners that go like, he's good to come in, quarantine safe. That's what it looks like as it goes through. It's like a 3D mesh instead of a normal one. Oh my god, he's white. It's unbelievable, I know. Walking into a room and like shining everybody away. Looking at my skin and being blinded. I feel like that's one of, because you have like certain jokes, right, that people just can't escape from. And for like tall people, it's like walking around and having to listen to, oh, how's the weather up there? And for short people, it's like, oh, look at Frodo Baggins or Bilbo Baggins or whatever, you get called a hobbit. I feel like the bald people equivalent is just going to be like people constantly doing like the, oh, my eyes. But I just don't have a way to back that up. Welcome, Moon. You missed the entire state of the channel address. At this point, we're kind of just talking. It's kind of scary going into this too. I know like, oh, the just chatting stream is like a common form of stream for streamer, but I'm gonna be honest, I feel like having something to do with your hands is such an essential part of being able to talk things through. Like, I'm constantly, like, whenever I'm doing my favorite example is like the Dread stream or whatever. The Dread stream conversations or the Katamari conversations, you get into like a zen state where your hands are doing something completely menial that don't require any thought, and then you kind of just are able to solve world hunger all on your own. What do you think of the current New World Order? Curse metagame? Do you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to be a millionaire? I don't know how to answer that because I don't think I have the trivia knowledge to get through all the questions. I thought that I could be a trivia guy for a minute because, like, I enjoy doing trivia games, but the more that I've looked at like trivia games and crosswords and like those kinds of things, the more I realize I just don't know most of what is out there. It's like learning about the Jetsam and Floatsam. The Dread streams were peak Big Fin Squid. That's a horrifying thing. You came into the chat and said, what if we all thought about the longest tendrils of all time? Beaches, like, I don't want to, okay, not in general. The concept of beaches do not scare me, but I feel like beaches have the potential to be one of the scarier locations. I think probably over like a woods or a mountainous woods, because like in a mountainous woods, you for sure have like the threat of, oh, look, a bear is going to eat me, or like Bigfoot's going to kidnap me and like fold up my clothes or something. But in the beach or on the beach in the water, stuff just happens. And it's not stuff that you're used to seeing. I guess it's definitely like a regional thing. To be fair, like if you lived on the coast, you'd probably be like, oh, beaches, none of that even worries me. I walk out there and I see like the giant 27-foot long tendril emerging from the deep, and it doesn't even bother me. That's just what we're used to. We even named them. I love the psychic damage you can inflict at all. Oh, it's okay. I forgive you. I think I understand the appeal to it. It just doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end. I don't know why I said I think I understand. I know that I understand. Because like my favorite pastime in video games lately has been going for like the full BM approach. I don't know what happened to me. I didn't used to be like this. Let me turn off the LED screen. But at some point, I decided that I just really thought it was funny to BM people, and then it leaked into more online like play, and so then I'm playing like a Tekken round, doing like the most basic stuff ever, getting beat 2 rounds in a row, winning 1 round, and then key charging. And it's like, oh, well, why do you even do that? It just feels good. It hits the dopamine in a unique way. Some people get addicted to gambling, some people get addicted to alcohol, some people get addicted to like hard drugs. I got addicted to thinking about making people slightly angrier on online video games. And I think in a lot of ways that might be way worse than getting addicted to like hard drugs. Because like if you get addicted to hard drugs, especially like, you know, you can see how it starts. It's like, oh, something stressful is going on. You end up with like some Coca-Cola magically in your hands, and then you decide that you're just gonna go for it, and then like, oh, the dopamine feels so good or whatever, and then you just like do it a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then you feel the pity. But then walking around thinking, oh, I'm just going to make this guy angry for literally no reason. I have never met the guy before. I'll never, ever meet the guy. I just have the strong desire to make them angry for my own entertainment. And I don't even know if they're angry. It's just that for whatever reason, the BM just kind of works for me. And then I move on. I'm glad you understand at least. Your reactions are just too good. I think that's part of the problem too. I've talked about it before, but I think I'm a very good target. I think I have like fun reactions. I take stuff, well, not to toot my own horn. I know that I am pretty great, but I don't want to come off as egotistical. But I would like to imagine that I have some pretty strong reactions for stuff, which unfortunately puts like a target on my back. It would be like if you knew that you could shoot an arrow at somebody and they would just laugh it off. There'd be no reason to not just like continuously shoot arrows at them in their day-to-day life. It's the same as a gold digger, but instead of making them horny, you were making them angry. I don't see the vision, Psycho. You're making them angry. Oh, I'm looking for like my own satisfaction through the BM. Maybe you could. No, we're not gonna go there. I think you must depart. Like I said before, you have I have your complete support moving forward. Thanks for the stream, and yes, you are great. Thank you. I definitely needed the nice stroke to my ego to make it ever increasing. I appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by, Ghost. It's been a long time since I've been able to see you in here. But and then the other like addiction, I wanted to go straight back on track to the addiction talk because I had something lined up and I was going to like deliver it and it was going to go over super well. But then I just kind of lost it, to be honest, which made things more difficult. I woke up recently. I'm just gonna ramble from here on, unless there's basic chat going on in the chat. I woke up recently, and by recently I mean like last night. I had done like an all-nighter to try to fix the sleep schedule because my sleep schedule got a little messed up. Because I might have, partied a little bit. And so I was going to do the all-nighter to fix the sleep schedule. Fentanyl tier list stream? Psycho, calm down. I don't think we're going there. How could it ever get messed up? That's a good question. I don't think it's ever been messed up before. But then the sleep schedule was fixed. I woke up at midnight, start acting super productive for a few hours, send off the emails. I'm like a functioning member of society. Realize, oh, now it's like 4 to 5 a.m. And then I just start then I go back to sleep, wake up for work. It's fixed. Tired for the next day, can go back to sleep. Go to sleep the next night, wake up at 6 a.m. I fell asleep with like my earbuds in. And this is probably like the scariest experience that I've had. I don't know what woke me up, but do you know like the feeling, the general feeling of like waking up from a nightmare? I had basically had like the jolt of having like the rush. It was almost like the adrenaline rush sent through my body. I flung myself upwards. I was like, oh, but it wasn't from a nightmare. That's just how it was. And I realized that I like fallen asleep with my earbuds in. Quickly found one rested neatly, sweetly, already tucked in my ear, and the other one I just found on the covers next to me. Put both of them in the case, but for whatever reason, my brain had convinced myself that there were like 3 to 4 more that I had to find. So for a minute, I was just kind of like panicking because I was like, oh, wait, I've got work in the morning. If I don't have my earbuds, I'm not going to be able to like listen to stuff while I work, and I'll just have to have my own thoughts to myself, which I think I'm pretty good at because like I do drive a lot and I frequently do just like live in my own head. I think a lot, but I think the full 8-hour shift would be pushing it. Because I kind of do like a bunch of menial tasks, so we'd be going completely into the Zen state, achieving nirvana. And I don't know if I'm ready to achieve nirvana yet. There's still a lot of emotions that I need to feel. And so like I'm in a panic mode, desperately looking for like the 4 more earbuds that I need to find to put in the case, thrashing around, looking under the covers, under the pillows. I start looking like between the wall and the bed because my bed's like in the corner of my room. Looking between the wall and the bed, on the floor, turn on the flashlight, blind myself, stare directly at it like it's the sun. And nothing was found. Eventually, I just gave up because I was like, if I don't fall back asleep soon, it's just not going to happen. And I'd only been asleep for like an hour at that point, and I wasn't ready to completely destroy the sleep schedule again. I wake up same thought process. I'm like, there's still 3 of these things out here. They're like the collectibles that you have to find in video games, the feathers in Assassin's Creed 2, the wings and chained together. I'm looking around, trying to make the connections of like where my ears possibly could have pushed them, before I just look in the headphone case and I see both of the headphones or the earbuds in like the earbud case. And then I remember it hits for me. Oh, wait, you're only supposed to have 2 of those. And so somehow in my mind, it had become 6. I had become an alien, a monster of my own creation, where instead of 2 ears on my head, I had like a whole line of ears down my body that all like heard different sounds. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know why I thought I had like 5 earbuds, but that's just where the thought process was. You respawn? I might have respawned. I might have even like visited a different body in like a different universe, which is maybe why it felt so uncanny. And I was just ripped back into my own body. You know how they depict it like in movies or whatever, where you have like the rubber band effect where it's like the wing, you come back. I can actually like hold on. What if we used the wonderful fancy effects that are built into this? Camera shake. Do the thing. Oh, that's a different kind of shake. This one, oh, you can move it. Thought doesn't work in the same time as reality. Maybe I went beyond reality. Do you think I could have ascended, Psycho? I think I could have ascended beyond space and time. I've been playing a lot of Zero Escape. I know how this stuff works. I'm basically an expert in it. But either way, eventually, I don't know what happened, and I kind of just gave up on it. Also, no idea what time I'm going to stream to. Probably just going to stream until it becomes boring, because today was just basically a shorter stream to lay out what my thoughts were for the future of the channel. Just chatting streams are uniquely hard, though. You have to have like the topics ready to go, and like I think I'm good at winging things. But there's like a difference between like making general conversation with somebody. Like if I were to sit here and like I've got my arm on the table, I'm staring directly into your eyes, I'm like nodding my head along to what you're saying, I'm deeply invested in getting to know you as a person. And then I go on a rant about like leaving my body and headphones being left all over the floor or whatever. And I can see you losing interest, so I kind of just like switch on to the next topic. However, like in this case, I can't see that. Like I'm sitting here, I'm looking you directly in the eyes, but because you don't have eyes, I get a little egotistical and look at my PNG's eyes. And he really likes what I have to say, but he's not really much of a talker. He's talking at the same wavelength that I am. It's like talking to a 4-year-old and they just repeat what you say in a different voice. They just repeat what you say in a different voice. Did you wake up with your blood on your hand? Oh, I did not. I did not wake up like that, Cyan. I thank you for the question, though. I appreciate your attempt at holding the conversation, but thankfully we did not go there. It was all just earbuds and earwax. Sorry, I needed a drink. Anyway, otherwise, I think for the next game on the channel, I might be going for the BioShock. Vino recommended BioShock, so I think to replace like the lack of anything on Wednesdays, because Wednesday was like my other series day, and I know that we just said that consistency is key, or consistency is not key. I still feel like I should keep some of the tradition moving forward, which means like, oh, including a couple of series that I can return to, and maybe swapping them out if one gets boring. I'm playing Virtue's Last Reward all the way through, though. Like, I've decided that the stream focus now is basically just so I can talk about whatever. And now like the BioShock Heart, true. I really like BioShock. I played all three of them whenever I was a kid. In high school, my letterman, because my brother was he was a little bit of an artiste, an auteur, not an auteur. That's like a different definition. But he did a little bit of art, which meant that for his own letterman on the back of his like letterman jacket, he he didn't do like the standard like last name. I almost just said my last name. He didn't do the standard last name design just across the back, like, oh, you buy the patch and it just gets like hastily thrown on there. He had like a patch made of our last name, but like in the Halo format. So it had like the like awkward looking C thing with like the gap on the end of it, and then it said like our last name in the middle of it. And so he was like, "Oh, look, I've got like this gamer letterman." I was like, "Oh, that's the coolest thing that I've ever seen. I think I want to do that too." And so we kind of got like a tradition going on of like these loser gamery lettermans. Not loser, they're like they're super cool. Mine was BioShock. And since I was the second, I was about to say my last name again. This is hard, man. Do you know how hard it is to not walk around doxing myself on a day-to-day basis? I mean, I suppose it's not really a problem, like in real life, but whenever you're on the internet and I'm trying to tell a story that includes like my own real name and like the people that I really know, it's difficult. I mean, just yesterday, we're talking about 6-month anniversaries. It's not even been 6 months since I doxed both Cyan and Holland live on stream. I've gotten significantly better at it, but it's taken a lot of practice. And you wouldn't assume that it would, like, go this far. But because of, like, my lack of knowledge or practice or anything, the worst part is I thought I was kind of, like, slick whenever I was first getting involved with, like the online communities and stuff. I realized I've always thought of myself as a relatively online, in-touch person. And I think that relatively to like a normal person, that's true. But then we get into like this weird, awkward spot where relative to the online denizens, I'm not. And so I don't know like the cultural cues on here. And so like I'm just talking to people, and my sense of security is all out of whack because like you're not a real person, and I'm just talking about my friends or whatever. So then it's like, oh yeah, Holland, he lives here. Here's his phone number, by the way. I was thinking about it. I think a pretty strong stream idea. There was that one Japanese VTuber that she was playing Splatoon, and as the Splatoon was going, she had the color for the enemy team set as like a chroma key, and she was basically green screening JAV to the enemy team's color. So to not get banned on YouTube, her team would just have to win. I think you could do something like that, but like with sensitive information. Even better, if you want to, you can give me the sensitive information, and then we can play like a game of roulette. Like when is it going to happen? It's less of an if and more of a let's count this down and bet on who goes first, right? So we kind of can get like a fantasy league going on of just pure doxing, where it's like, oh, I live on 123 South Street. And it's like, oh, why didn't you say so, Psycho? I thought so. And then, like, whenever you next come into stream, like, whoever, like, it could be a long wait, too. Like, let's say I go 7 months without doxing anybody. It's the longest that I've ever gone without doxing somebody, whether it be myself, a friend, or, like, legitimately anybody. Psycho comes to stream 7 months from now. It's now February 2025. I've celebrated the 1-year anniversary of the channel, and Psycho comes in and says hello, I would still like that fentanyl tier list stream, and I say, oh, so sorry, Psycho. By the way, didn't you say that you lived on 123 South Street? And then I'm having to cut parts out of the VOD. It just completely slipped out of my mouth because it's like a natural conversation. Except you can't really talk back to me. So as the 123 South Street starts to leave my mouth, you can't look at me and tell me to like stop talking. It's like a natural state of being for me. I know that it's not just me though, because I remember talking to like Holland about some of it before, and I'm pretty sure that you said that you were partially the same at the beginning, right? But like I feel like now that I've had more opportunity to like quote unquote practice being in a community space, I understand like the well, I mean, I've always understood the sacredness of information and the importance of information and what that means, but I didn't know how to actually contain it. I feel like I've gotten better at like locking it away like a genie in a bottle. And I suppose it still like remains to be seen. It's honestly kind of impressive though, because like up until this point, the standard process for like internet safety, it was made clear to me. I grew up in an online age, the informational age or whatever it's called, where like everything's at your fingertips, and you can talk to somebody from Germany, Korea, and like Australia all at the same time, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Look at you, you're like from Russia or something, and that made sense to me. I didn't really talk to anybody on like Xbox Live or anything as a kid. I didn't try to make contact with like the online strangers. They scared me, man. They scared me. So why don't they scare me now whenever all the freaks are out there? I watched the Viva Pinata How to Stay Safe on the Internet like PSA in the Viva Pinata video game on the Xbox 360. I know what I was told to do, but unfortunately it's just becoming increasingly difficult for me to maintain that status. Anyway, back to the Letterman. My Letterman in high school had like the BioShock logo on it, and since I was the second of my brothers, I'm a middle child. It had like last name 2, so it was the BioShock 2 logo with like my name attached to it, my last name. And then my little brother continued on to the same thing, where he finally got to the point where he could get his Letterman. And this was actually after I had already graduated from high school. Yeah. So he got to the point where he could get his Letterman. And he did his like in a Pokemon style. He still put the 3 after it, which doesn't really work for a Pokemon. But I think it's within the spirit and it makes sense. He's like a Pokemon guy. I was very much into BioShock, and my older brother is like super into Halo. So it kind of worked out that way. And now I'm kind of like thinking back on some of the stuff that I would do in high school. In my high school, we had to wear like these ID badges. And you couldn't just have them on your bag or whatever. They were required to be around your neck at all times. And I remember like everybody kind of complaining about it. And I think I started with 2 lanyards, because obviously you had to have the lanyard to have it around your neck. I had 2 lanyards, one like the standard school one that came with the ID. The second was just like a basic red lanyard. And I can't remember what started it. It's been like a couple of years, you could say. But I don't remember what started it, but eventually I went into this status of I'm going to start adding lanyards to my ID. And so by the time I got to like my junior year, I think I was wearing an ID with like 100 lanyards on it. And so I would walk through the school hallways, and I remember people would give me lanyards. They know me. They knew me as like the lanyard guy. It was like my favorite bit that I had done, like through high school. So like I had become the lanyard guy. Like people that I had like never spoken to before would come up to me and go, "Hey, I know what you're doing. Here you go. Go ahead and take this." Even worse though, if sometimes people would lose their lanyard or break their lanyard, and then they would come to me and be like, "Hey, my lanyard broke. Can I have one of yours?" And it's not like I'm gonna say no. It'd be like the dragon sitting on the pile of gold. I don't think that would be right of me, so I have to say yes. And then at this point, it's like, oh, I'm 100 lanyards deep. All these things are tangled up. It's taken on a life of its own. It's like the big fin squid in the bottom of the sea. And so you have to like unravel these things to figure out how to even hand the thing to the guy in the first place. Either way, I think by the senior year, it had only grown, and it had gotten to the point where I couldn't fit my head through the hole anymore because the lanyards were so thick. I remember like the process in the morning at a certain point, and this was kind of like a pure like love of the game kind of process. I would have to set like the IDs down, not the IDs, the lanyards down. And then, you know, like whenever you're doing like in the at the beach, you like start making a pile, you build the pile up, and then you start like caving in the center, like pulling around the outside and stuff, like making it gape a little bit. I would have to do that for the lanyards so that I could fit my like massive head through the hole. And by the time I had gotten to senior year of high school, my head couldn't fit through the hole anymore. So at that point, I was carrying around like the lanyards like it was a basketball. And so I had like this basketball sized like thing of lanyards. And I remember finally being stopped. And they were like, "You have to wear that." And I was like, "Oh, I can't wear it." And I remember like getting one lanyard out of the pile and hanging like the whole ball from my neck. I'm pretty sure like they do that to prisoners to like keep them in line, like the little ball and chain on the leg or whatever, except it was around the neck. It was strangling me from the back. But then like because of that, I just decided that it wasn't worth it to me anymore, and I had to give up. It was actually like I'm not gonna say a tragic thing for me, because like by the time I gave it up, I did not miss it. It had become a complete hassle, and the only reason that I didn't stop earlier is because it was like my thing, right? I had already become the lanyard guy, and what would I be if I wasn't the lanyard guy, right? All these people that knew me walking by in the hallways going, "There's the lanyard guy. Let me give him one of those just for old time's sake." What would they think of me now? They walk around, I've got one lanyard on, I'm the same as them, maybe even lower. They probably have like 3 of those things. I think I still have a picture of it. I'm not going to find it right now, but if anybody wants to see it, I can send you the lanyards. It was an impressive like hold that I had. I was a powerful man, I think you could say. But then I gave up. And I wore just like one lanyard for the rest of the time. It was a genuine problem too, because you know how like you can get swamp ass. Imagine like swamp ass, but you can like get it on your neck. Because your neck is sweating because you're wearing a scarf in the middle of the summer. That's a genuine effect that could happen. And some of those lanyards, I was doing it. I like some of them I just had on because they increased the numbers, but some of them were like gross. I don't know what some of those kids were doing to those lanyards, but like some of them were getting chewed on for sure. Like the people that couldn't figure out how to stop chewing on like the end of their jackets, they would start like chewing the aglets off of their jacket strings or whatever. They would be like chewing at their lanyards, and so like in the pile goes like the saliva infested like lanyard of a teenager, which is not great whenever it's like you know, as gross as people are, coom lanyard. Do you think somebody freshly grabbed one out of their jar? Oh, why would you even say that? But some of them were for sure disgusting, and I never took them off. I remember thankfully, like, the mass itself did not get gross. The mass itself stayed clean, virtuous, pure. Nothing bad happened to like the mass, but some of those individual lanyards, I had to remove some of them. I couldn't accept some of them because they weren't up to my criteria, like my health criteria, which I think is understandable. It's going around my neck, so I think I should be able to be the one that can choose. But that's kind of like all there was to the lanyard story, to be honest. Hold on, I need a drink. Lately, I've become much more aware, and this is gonna, oh, hold on, it went down the wrong pipe. Okay, I'm back. You could see me, you couldn't hear me, but you could see me struggling with like it going down the wrong pipe. But this is gonna sound obvious. It didn't really click with me until recently. I would say even within like the past year, that there's a lot that you can have for 0 to very low calories. And so that's where like the love for like Coke Zero emerged and stuff. And as I'm starting to cook more and more, right? I'm able to make like better and better tasting foods for like less and less calories than what I was taking in at a fast food chain. I genuinely think like it doesn't make sense to me, which is crazy because like there was some guy in like 1777, a year after the United States had just earned its own independence. That was like a lumberjack or something, and was out there like chopping up trees, and was having to figure out how to intake enough calories to keep up that lifestyle. Whenever like the standard nowadays is like, oh, I can try that new Cheez-It Supreme Crunch Wrap at Taco Bell, and then take in like 1,500 calories all in one meal. But then like you start cooking and it's like, oh, this is like worth so much, like nutrition wise, and it sits in my stomach for longer, and I'm like full, and it's a lot cheaper, all just because I cooked it instead. It makes no sense. I don't understand. It's an addiction, the Coke Zero. I wouldn't say it's an addiction. I think we could say it's a passion. I think part of the love, okay, so part of the love for Coca-Cola, genuinely, it goes back for me. It goes back deep. So like my mom, whenever we would decorate for like Christmas or whatever, my mom always had like the Coca-Cola polar bear stuff. And I really liked the Coca-Cola polar bear. And because of that, I was kind of cemented as a Coca-Cola guy. And I genuinely, I thought my mom was a Coca-Cola guy too. And, you know, now it's like, I'm a full-grown adult. I'm in my 20s. I didn't learn until this, like, past year, this past Christmas, that my mom prefers Pepsi. It kind of, like, upset me a little bit. I feel like I've been living a lie up until this point. But Pepsi is her preferred, like, drink of choice, and for me it's it's Coca-Cola, because I feel like Pepsi like is a lot fizzier, it's a lot gassier than Coca-Cola, where Coca-Cola is a lot more refined and subtle in its fizz and flavor, and then with that Coke Zero, 0 calories, just replicating the taste of Coca-Cola. It makes no sense. And then I understand that like the sweetener does not taste the same. Obviously, it does not taste the same, but the sweetener, honestly, I've come around to kind of preferring it over normal Coca-Cola. And I don't even know if I would say kind of. Like if I don't, at minimum, they're even ground, like easily even ground. Like I would for sure still take a Coca-Cola. Like I think glass bottle Coca-Cola is still probably above everything else, just for the novelty of drinking it out of a glass bottle. I think like the material that something is in can definitely inform the opinion that you have on it for like the rest of your life. It's kind of like whenever I went to a sushi restaurant with Cyan and Holland the other day, and at the sushi restaurant they were serving hot water. Now, I was a detractor of hot water. I thought, why would you ever just drink like boiled water? Because, you know, it makes sense to have like these other kinds of waters, whether it be sparkling water, water, or like flavored water or whatever, tea, coffee, if you want to put those in the same camp. But I don't think I would. They're definitely a different drink with their own identity. It's way too broad to include tea and coffee for sure. I didn't understand hot water the most. In my mind, you would make hot water and then like put salt in it just to make sure that to help you alleviate a sore throat, and that's all that it was for. Anyway, I finally just ordered the hot water at the sushi restaurant, and it came in like the super like nice fancy little cup, and I drank it, and it took on a new form. And I think that there would be less enthusiasm in me if it didn't come in like that fancy little cup. And I don't know how to describe that cup, but it didn't really have like a it looked like somebody had like made it through like a pottery class or something, rather than it was a ceramic cup. That's the best way to describe it. And it was like it had a little bit of ridges on the way up, ridged for your drinking pleasure. And the cup itself, the presentation makes it better. And that's part of the reason why like gourmet restaurants, you'll go to like a gourmet place. We have 54 Michelin stars, and they go through and they do like a little bit of sauce on the side of the plate, fling it up like Picasso, taking like the little paintbrush and like whoosh, whoosh, with the sauce, and then you throw like a few leaves on the side, and then you take a little like bubble press, put it over the thing. Now it's all encased in a bubble. You take the press off, it looks like Sandy Cheeks' house on the inside, and you have to get through the bubble anyway. And then once you get through the bubble, then you have access to the food. That's what hot water does for you with the fancy cup. And so I don't think I could have liked it as much without the fancy cup. Like if you handed me just like that's not true. I think a mug, I'm still into it. But if you hand me like a Yeti just full of hot water, I don't think I'm into it anymore. But I took a drink of the hot water, and as it filled my mouth, first, feel pain. It was boiled. It was very hot, and my hands were hurt. Whenever I like let it sit for a second though, sit and simmer in my mouth, I think that it extends the flavor of the water. And I don't know how to describe that effect to you, but essentially the water, like it contained a more poignant water flavor within the water. So the water tastes more like water than the water would have if it were just like cool, clear blue water. And because of that, like, and with the warmth, you feel it like spread through your body as like the water takes hold and makes you recognize that you're made out of this stuff. I wouldn't say it's an addiction. I'd say it's a passion. Might be exactly what your crack addicted uncle said. Oh. I'm different though. I'm better at it than him. Favorite drink, salty with protein. I see. But water, like hot water, it's a genuine experience, and I think it will be something that I return to, possibly in like a Yeti. Now it's different. The presentation doesn't matter to me anymore. I think I just believe in all forms of water, whether it be like sparkling water, because I revisited sparkling water as well, and sparkling water honestly just works for me now. I don't know what was holding me back from it before, but there's something genuinely quenching, thirst quenching about having like a. And this is flavored sparkling water. I don't know what unflavored sparkling water tastes like, and I don't think I'm like willing to go there. I think it would be less good. But like I didn't understand flavored sparkling water before. But having the having like that little punch of fizzy strawberry like cake the inside of your mouth, it's honestly kind of like incredible. You drink TV static? Yeah, I think so. This might be a stupid question. No, I don't think it is, actually. TV static isn't like a thing anymore, right? Like it literally can't exist just based off of like the technology that we use now. Because like TV static, obviously it's like, oh look, my hand's up against like the CRT, and then you like feel it all along like your hand. But even then, like I'm thinking about like the static effect where it's like all the black and white and gray like pebbles going across the screen. That's can't be done, right? Like nowadays it's just going to be like the either like the bars or a blank screen or like, oh, you aren't receiving signal, rather than anything like creepy like that, right? Just unflavored is TV static. Oh, so strawberry is like strawberry flavored TV static. Maybe you could have caked the TV with strawberry flavoring and then licked it. There still is cable TV. I'm aware of that. But isn't that still like it's going to be different now though, right? Because even cable is going to be like a little different than what cable was before. Or am I just making that up? I genuinely don't have a clue here. Either way, water good, Coke good as well. But the polar bear essentially built the connection to the Coca-Cola is what I'm trying to say. And it's interesting because I think that Coke Zero and Coca-Cola do have like their own like distinct territories outside of the calorie range. And I think that's why you can like it. I think the only reason, well, I'm not going to say the only reason. I think there are valid reasons to dislike Coke Zero. But I think not allowing Coke Zero to be itself and take its own form is going to be a genuine problem whenever trying to introduce the normal standard person to Coke Zero. I think they have to give it a real shot and understand it's not the exact same as Coca-Cola. It's something all on its own. It's something special. It means something to a lot of people, and that's okay. And I think that once you can accept that, I think then the heart, the soul of the Coke Zero comes through, and it can speak to you in a way that that you weren't ready to let happen because you weren't willing to open your heart to the Coke Zero. But that's kind of just what I'm thinking. Either way, it's been about an hour. I intended for this to be a shorter stream. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. So I think I might go ahead and wrap things up. If there was like a whole lot of conversation, then we could probably make it happen. But I got a lot of ideas, and I could like keep rambling at myself, but I can only take so much without like a drink break, you know? A drink break as in like wettening my throat rather than like drinking, you know? Not getting drunk break, but just like giving my throat a rest break and taking a moment to read things, which, to be fair, I've done a pretty bad job at keeping up with chat this time. It's honestly harder than you would think to be able to go back and forth between, oh, I have to full talk, and oh, I have to keep an eye on the chat box. But either way, this was fun. I might like consider a fuller like just chatting ish stream in the future. Maybe not as plain, maybe paired with like an event or something. Thank you, Jury, for teaching me how to use Shust. I think with the Shust program, I can probably do some things that I have ideas for, but we'll have to see. I like the setup potential for some of this, and I think if I go into like full bit mode, I think there are like bits that can be born just from playing with this. But that'll be for me to figure out. Thank you for coming to my chamber. I will talk to you all most likely on Friday. I still plan on streaming this Friday. Next week there will be a little less because I'll be busy, and it's important that I pay attention to other things. But I think I plan on streaming on Friday. And other than that, I think that's all I got for you. Let me read names. There were more than I expected today. Thank you, Cyan. Thank you, Jury. Thank you, Holland. Thank you, Ghost. Thank you, Moon. Thank you, Psycho. Thank you, Deceptions. And thank you, Beef. I will be back on Friday, most likely. Trademark. And I will talk to you all then. Goodbye.